What is going on, everybody? I go by the name of Kari, and I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on SneakerPhetish. So if you guys don't know, Warren Lotus, the Los Angeles-based streetwear designer turned public enemy #1, is being sued by Nike for potentially millions of dollars. I'll explain how I got to that number in just a moment. I was able to get the entire filing of the Nike lawsuit against Warren Lotus. I wanted to dig into this a little bit for myself and make sure that I got all of the details and not just what everybody was reading from the headlines or kind of the summarized version on different blogs. I really wanted to dive into it myself and see what was going on. So I literally was able to get my hands on the entire thing. So we're going to talk about what's going on in this lawsuit. We're going to talk about what it means, and we're going to talk about why he got in trouble as opposed to a lot of other businesses. Let's get into it. All right, now like I mentioned before, for you guys that don't know who Warren Lotus is, Los Angeles-based designer, started in his college dorm room. He actually kind of rose to stardom in fashion and streetwear because he was clothing different celebrities. He came out with these pants that Wiz Khalifa made. Kanye called them cool pants. Everybody wanted them. He started getting hot. Then he came out with a couple of brands. Bill by Warren Lotus, Sam by Warren Lotus. I think Sam was actually offered in HBX. Well, from there, Warren Lotus went on to doing things like screen printed t-shirts where he started playing around with different logos, mainly the Lakers. Since of course he was from Los Angeles, it only makes sense. A lot of people do a lot of different things manipulating the Laker logo. He was one of those people. But as Warren Lotus got bigger and bigger, he decided to dabble into sneakers. And that's where we are right now. That's what brings us to this filing from Nike. Warren Lotus started coming out with a variety of different dunk sneakers, low top dunks at that mimicked very closely, very famous, some of the most famous Nike dunks to ever exist. The Stussy dunks, the Heineken dunks. And his only trademark was that instead of Nike on the back, he put a WL, and on the swoosh, just on the tip of the swoosh on the front, instead of it being a regular rounded swoosh, he actually put the mask of Jason Voorhees, Jason from Friday the 13th. So that was kind of his calling card, his customization, if you will. Now, he also said that the sneakers were made from good products and things of that nature, but it started becoming very controversial very fast because people wanted to know where he got the shoes from. Well, that brings us to present day, because even though people had those questions, they were still buying them at the elevated prices. He recently released an official, and some people debate what official means, but to me, it was an official collaboration between himself and Jeff Staple for Staple Pigeon brand. Now, the slap in the face to Nike on that one is that, of course, they are the originators of the original Staple Pigeon dunk, both in the original gray color and in the more updated black color. So to take that iconic logo and that iconic collaboration from a real dunk and put it on a fake dunk with the cosign from the owner of the company, to me, is still mind-boggling, but they did it. The problem was that when it happened, Nike didn't like it so much. So Nike decided at that point, because of all the sneakers he had come out with and because of all the money he was making. By the way, for the Pigeon dunk, he actually said that he was releasing pre-orders. As many people wanted to get pairs, that's how many pairs he was going to do, and they were going to be all these big elevated materials, Italian leathers and things of that nature, but he was charging $300, triple the price of a regular dunk. Now, rumor has it that for the latest Warren Lotus and Jeff Staple for Staple Pigeon collaboration dunk, he pre-sold somewhere around 25,000 pairs of that sneaker at $300 a pop. If you don't want to do the math, I'll do it for you. That's $7.5 million. That's a big old bag of money. And Nike saw that too. So once that happened, Nike decided, okay, enough is enough. Let's go ahead and sue him. And that's exactly what they did. Now, let's dig into this case a little bit. First of all, the first thing that I want to mention to you guys is that Nike has a lot of lawyers on this case. And I mean a lot of lawyers on this case. And I believe it's 6 to be exact, not to mention anybody else that's working in those lawyers' offices. Nike is very lawyered up. Now, the first thing about this is that the reason why companies like this go after companies like Warren Lotus mainly is because of how much money they're making. Once they get to be a certain level, a certain size, one of two things either happens. Usually a company will send a cease or desist to smaller companies that may not be making that much money. They may be kind of doing it as a hobby, getting a little bit of buzz about it, and the company will say, stop doing that, and usually it's fine after that. Companies like Chinatown Market, for instance, are one of the companies that have been hit with such a cease and desist before. If you guys remember, they did a little thing when Frank Ocean came out with his Blonde album, and they made a shirt with like a Nike swoosh on it. Frank Ocean's camp actually was the one that sent out the cease and desist letter that took $40,000 worth of pre-orders and had to refund all $40,000 of that money back. So it is what it is. These things really do happen. But in the case of Warren Lotus, He was making a much bigger bag than that. So Nike decided, you know what, before he gets any bigger, let's go ahead and shut this down. Now, first thing that I want to note to you guys is that they are suing both Warren Lotus LLC and Warren Lotus, the person. They're suing both of them. Now, the reason why they're doing that is basically because they want to come after everything in that man's professional life and his personal life. They're suing both the man himself and his limited liability company. If you guys watched the video that I did about when I got in tax trouble for all of that money, I talked a little bit about forming an LLC. Theoretically, when you form an LLC, that means that you're protected, your personal assets are protected against a big company like a Nike if they want to sue you. Nike was smart enough to know that, so they went ahead and sued both of them. Now, the complaint is for 5 different counts: trademark infringement, false designation of origin, trademark dilution in violation, unfair competition in violation of the California Business and Professional Code, and common law trademark infringement and unfair competition. Let's run through them real quick. So the documents start off with a little preliminary statement, basically talking about genuine Nike Dunks versus Warren Lotus fakes, and they literally call them fakes. Let me also stop right here. The reason why they're calling his sneakers fakes is not just because of the customization aspect of it. Nike actually makes this very clear in these documents that there's a big difference between customization and flat out fakes. And in this instance, the shoe that Warren Lotus was making, they were not genuine, they were not authentic Nike sneakers. They were fake sneakers that were made somewhere over in a factory, somewhere overseas. And because he was building these sneakers, these customized sneakers off of fake bases, fake sneakers, fake versions of Nike Dunks, that honestly is a big reason why Nike came after him. So the beginning talks about the parties, it talks about the jurisdiction and venue. It's all regular court talk type stuff. It talks about factual backgrounds, and then it gets into Nike's swoosh design. It talks a little bit how Nike actually owns the trademark of the swoosh. It talks about the shape of it, what it looks like, the years that they actually made it, the goods that it's used for, things of that nature. It has all of their regulatory numbers, their patent numbers, their trademarks, things of that nature. It then goes a little bit deeper to talk about the Nike Dunk. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. They start talking about the Nike Dunk, and they start talking about how the Dunk came to be and how it originated. But the funny thing about it is that not only does it talk about the trademark of the Dunk, it talks about the design of the Dunk and how Nike originated that design with the panels of the shoes, how it looks on the bottom of the shoe, things of that nature. But it also talks about how Nike actually owns the trademark to the word dunk when it comes to shoes. Now, personally, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that Nike actually owned the word dunk. But if you ever want to put the word dunk on a shoe, you got to come see about Nike, because apparently they own the trademark to that. So first thing, it talks about his unlawful activity. It says he attempted to capitalize on the strength and fame of Nike and its asserted marks by making, promoting, advertising, marketing, and selling in the United States footwear and apparel bearing the asserted marks and or confusingly similar marks, aka the infringing products. It says his infringing products include at least products WL refers to as the Warren Lotus Staple Pigeon OG, the Warren Lotus Freddy Broccolini Chunkless, the Toxic Greens, the Jason Voorhees Dunk Low, and he literally called them the Jason Voorhees Dunk Low, another big reason why he got into trouble, and any other footwear or apparel. This right here is partially where they got him. They said he used the word dunk, and he shouldn't use the word dunk. So not only was he infringing on the design of the product, he also was infringing on the name itself. Nike owns both. So even if he could skate out of the design aspect of it, the fact that he actually used the word dunk and Nike owns the word dunk, that's a double whammy for him. But let me tell y'all how petty Nike is. Now here in point number 53, Nike actually says that these dunks are not genuine dunks. They're not the real deal. They're not the real shoe. A lot of people kind of alluded to it. They wondered about it, but now it's confirmed. They're fake dunks that Warren Lotus was using to make his shoe. But remember why I mentioned Nike talked about there being confusion in the marketplace? They actually took screenshots from people like you from Instagram directly and put it into these court documents where people were confused about the shoe. What is the shoe? Is this a dunk? Is this not a dunk? Is this a collaboration? Is it not? What's going on? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why Nike said that he was creating confusion in the marketplace. It ain't looking too good for the kid right now. So like I mentioned, number one, trademark infringement. Nike owns the trademarks to all of those things that we talked about. They own the trademark to the word dunk. They own the trademark to the swoosh that they felt was way too similar. Even though it had the little Jason Voorhees mask on it, it was still way too similar. By the way, Warren Lotus needs to thank his lucky stars that the people that created the Friday the 13th franchise didn't come after him as well for using the Jason Voorhees logo. Count number two, false designation of origin. Now that has to do with the fact that the sneakers were fake. The origin of the product itself was not a real sneaker. Now again, that's the difference between a customization of a real product and a straight out fake of another type of product. Let me give you an example. If you guys know anything about sneaker YouTube, you guys are very familiar with my guy, Mr. Fulmer Simpson, and his Uncivilized brand. Now, you guys will notice that the Uncivilized brand, especially like the OG hoodie that I have right here, features a champion logo, but that champion logo is flipped. Number one, that's okay because he's clearly manipulated the champion logo, so much so that you can tell clearly this is not an actual champion logo that he's trying to use here. It's a play for the word uncivilized. Now, on top of that, this is also a genuine champion branded hoodie. That right there is the difference. Warren Lotus was using fake Nike Dunks to customize this sneaker, but there's really not a legal customization because in order to have a legal customization, you have to use the customization on a real product. Now, Fomer Simpson did it differently. This is a genuine champion hoodie here, and so he can basically do whatever he wants to do on it in terms of customization because he's using authentic product for the base of the hoodie. Other companies, I feel like they tend to kind of err kind of on the dangerous side. Now, this right here is a Chinatown Market beach ball that I got from ComplexCon back in 2018, 19. I don't even remember when I got it now, maybe 2019. But I got this beach ball here. You guys notice it has like the Chanel logo. It has the Burberry logo on the back. It's got the Louis Vuitton logo here when you open it up. It has a fake Fendi logo on the other side. It's got a whole bunch of different logos on it. Now, first of all, the fact that all these logos are all meshed together kind of helps Chinatown Market because clearly it's a bootleg, but that's all that Chinatown Market does is bootlegs of stuff. Sometimes they get away with it, sometimes they don't. Now, count number 3, trademark dilution. What exactly does that mean? Basically what it means is that Nike spent a really, really long time to create this reputation for their brand, for their trademarks. Warren Lotus is diluting that, making it cheaper, not as valuable, by slapping whatever it is that he's doing on the Nike product and on the Nike logos and labels and things that they own. He's diluting the value. He's making it cheaper. Count number 4, unfair competition. Now, what exactly does that mean? Unfair competition basically means that because of the confusion that he's created in the marketplace, he actually is creating competition for Nike that should not be in the marketplace. People are now going to buy his sneakers, maybe as opposed to buying a genuine Nike product. He's created himself as a competitor in the space, and that's not really fair. Nike doesn't like that. And the final count, common law trademark infringement and unfair competition. So basically, they're taking all the things that they talked about and they're also applying it to common law as well. So they're applying it on a much larger scale. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is 5 counts that they're going against Warren Lotus for. And honestly, Nike has a very strong case. Now, what exactly are they suing this man for? That's where it gets interesting. First thing, before we even get into what Nike actually wants, the first thing that Nike is actually asking for or demanding is a jury trial. They actually don't want to litigate this just between Nike's lawyers and Warren Lotus and his lawyers. They actually want a jury to come in and decide whether or not he infringed on these copyrights. Very smart move on Nike's part because honestly, most people that are going to get chosen to a jury don't even know much about the sneaker industry or Warren Lotus like that. And even if they do, a lot of people probably going to go on Nike's part because everything that they're going to present is going to make it look like he exactly copied or very closely copied a lot of the things that Nike owns the trademarks to. So it makes it a lot more objective at that point. So very smart move on Nike's part. Don't leave it up to Nike and their lawyers and Warren Lotus and his lawyers, but leave it actually up to the jury to decide what happens to this man. It's pretty smart. Now let me run down what Nike actually wants here. The first thing that Nike wants is a judgment in order that says that he willfully infringed on all of Nike's copyrights and all of their intellectual property that they own. Number 2, they want a judgment in order enjoining Warren Lotus and its affiliates, officers, agents, employees, attorneys, and all other persons acting in concert with him to immediately stop manufacturing, transporting, promoting, importing, advertising, publicizing, distributing, offering for sale, or selling any products, including but not limited to the infringing products. So they not only want him to stop selling dunks, they want his business to go out of business. That's how much Nike is not playing. Number 3, they want an order that Nike is the exclusive owner of all the trademarks that they talked about. Nike's probably going to get that because clearly they can prove that they own all the trademarks. Number 4, and this is my favorite one, in order that Warren Lotus be required to deliver to Nike for destruction any and all shoes, apparel, digital files, packaging, printed graphics, promotional materials, business cards, signs, labels, advertisements, flyers, circulars, and any other items in any of their possession, custody, or control. They want Warren Lotus to bring everything that he owns directly to Nike so Nike can burn it all right in front of his face. Wow. Number 5 gets into the money. Nike wants an order granting an award of damages suffered by Nike according to proof at the time of the trial. They also want an order that Warren Lotus accounts to Nike for any and all profits earned as a result. And once he reports all those profits, number 7, and the last thing that Nike wants is an award of 3 times the amount of damages and increased profits. 3 times. So let's break down this 3 times profit deal. So let's just say, for instance, he really did sell that 25,000 pairs of the staple Pigeon dunk, and he made $7.5 million gross revenue on that. Let's just say that he netted $3 million profit on that 7.5, and he spent $4.5 million on production, shipping, materials, whatever. Even if he only netted $3 million, that means that Nike now wants 3 times that amount of money. They want $9 million, even if he profited $3 million. And that means that they want even more money than he would have made gross. Nike is really trying to bankrupt that man. Guys, look, here are my thoughts about the Warren Lotus shoe. If you've noticed, we've never done a Warren Lotus shoe on this channel before. And personally, that's because I was always very confused about the origin of his products. Now, a lot of people have called me the UA King. I've heard a lot of people talk about unauthorized authentics and the fact that I review fakes on this channel. And to each his own, I guess that's a bit subjective. But if you know, because half the time, if you follow me on social media, you actually see when I get order confirmations directly from Nike or directly from Foot Locker or Foot Action, or if a brand themselves has actually sent me a sneaker. So it's kind of hard to review fakes when brands themselves are sending you product, but that's another story for another day. I say all that to say this. Warren Lotus knew exactly what he was doing. He knew that the shoes that he was making were fakes. He knew that there was a chance that he was infringing on Nike's copyrights, but honestly, I think he got a little bit cocky. I think that he was used to making a lot of money on these dunks and building up so much hype on these sneakers. Speaking of hype, by the way, there's a good chance that if you have some Warren Lotus dunks, it's crazy about this sneaker world, but similar to the Puerto Rico Air Max 1s, I actually think that the prices are actually gonna skyrocket now that those sneakers aren't available no more and so much drama is surrounding it. It's crazy, but that's the way it works in this world. But like I was saying, I think that he got a little bit cocky. He's still a little bit cocky because apparently a couple of posts started popping up on social media saying, forget Nike, we're gonna win this case, things of that nature. I don't really know, but apparently that's what's been mentioned out here. Now, he did make a statement, but honestly, the statement said a whole lot of nothing. He said a lot of things and a whole lot of nothing at the exact same time, and it looks like he just typed it up in his notes real quick. I wasn't really impressed by that. The moral of the story is, if you are a customizer, if you're somebody that wants to make product and you're dabbling around with companies' logos and trademarks because it looks cool and you want to kind of piggyback off of something that's already dope, do that. That's fine. But just make sure that you're using, number 1, authentic product, and number 2, that you're deviating enough away from the original logo or the original trademark that you're not going to get in this kind of trouble. Because guys, listen, Nike's not playing. Now, a couple of people have asked a couple of questions on social media, like for instance, how come Jordan Brand knows all of these fake factories over in Asia and in China are making these sneakers? How come they don't sue them? That's a simple answer. Number 1, China laws are extremely complicated and they're very, very difficult to break through and to sue a company like that over in China. Number 2, fake factories are popping up all the time. There's a million fake factories, and if Nike starts going after one, then where does it stop? Do they go after all the fake factories? Do they just spend all of their lawyer money just trying to go after every single fake factory in China? That's pretty much impossible. Number 3, a lot of the places that are making fake sneakers happen to be in the same facilities or use a lot of the same materials as real authentic product. And we're in a space now where fake sneakers are being made with authentic real Nike material. So it's hard for Nike to sue a fake shoemaker when the fake shoe is being made with authentic Nike materials. The fakes are getting good out here, right? That's plain to see. So because of all that, Nike probably just doesn't bother. But when you have something like this that's happening in America with a guy like this that's just making these customs, making a ton of money off of it, I mean, he had to have known that this was coming. So I hope that he stashed a little bit of money somewhere because Nike is getting ready to come for everything that he has. So Warren, if you ever watch this, hope you got some money in the Cayman Islands or you put some money in your grandmama's name, my boy, because they are coming for you. All right, guys, that's pretty much all that I got to say about that. Now it's time for you guys to sound off down in the comments and let me know what you guys think about the Warren Lotus and Nike lawsuit. Do you guys feel like Nike should go after more people? If so, who? If you don't want to snitch on yourself, that's fine. Just be vague down in the comments. Or do you feel like Nike is completely justified? Do you feel like Warren Lotus is justified? Who do you think is going to win this case? Sound off down below, Nike or Lotus. I'm really interested to hear you guys' thoughts. Of course, right down in the comments, make sure that you click on that subscribe button so we can welcome you into the Sneaker Fetish family to make sure you don't miss out on any more heat, especially stories that come through like this, because I guarantee you I got a lot more on the way. As always, I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on Sneaker Fetish, taking a look at this with me, dialoguing with me for a couple of minutes. I go by the name of Kari. This is the Nike and Warren Lotus lawsuit, and until next time, I'm out.